the breaking news today is that Jonathan Kuminga has been ruled out of tonight's game with bilateral or both sides knee tendonitis. Kuminga will miss his 5th game in a row. Steve Kerr just spoke pre-game, and he talked about Kuminga's status not only for tonight, but also for tomorrow. Take a listen.
So he played the day of the Dallas game, scrimmaged, and scrimmaged again this morning, and just didn't feel quite ready. And training staff said, they felt strongly that we should give him another night off. We're hopeful for tomorrow, but we'll see how he feels tomorrow.
There you go. It's always the training staff. Rick Celebrini does such a great job, but a very consistent approach always when it comes to players who are either a little bit dinged up or coming back from injury. So really, this shouldn't come as too big a surprise, and it also shouldn't be taken too negatively for the long-term viability of Kuminga playing this year.
So, Dibs, initially it was said that he wasn't starting today, right? He's coming off the bench. There's no chance he's saying, I wasn't starting, and I'm not starting, so I'm not playing.
So let me stir the pot. My knees hurt more.
Yeah, let me stir the pot a little bit on 95-7 the game. Do you think there's anything to that, conspiracy theorists out there?
God, I hope not. And I love your pot stirring. Normally you give the phone number when you do that, and you watch the lines light up with people. Kuminga's wanted out ever since he said Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr doesn't have faith in Steve Kerr.
You're not starting me? Well, guess what? My knee hurts. Worse.
Right. That is so funny. So all of a sudden now, after Kuminga has had a resurgent second half of the year, I don't necessarily think that's the case, but
I don't.
And if you think about it, though, in terms of the schedule, so he doesn't play tonight. He's officially been ruled out. Tomorrow at Dallas, and then a somewhat of a short turnaround Sunday at home against Utah, and then you've got Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. So between tomorrow, Friday, and the end of the year, you've got 6 games in 9 nights. So even if Kuminga is able to come back and play tomorrow, that's a bunch of games coming up with rapid succession.
Yeah, and you want him healthy for the stretch run. I get it. You're not going to... I'm Googling right now tendonitis, bilateral tendonitis. Bilateral tendonitis means you have tendonitis in 2 languages, right? No, I won't go to the second one. And just recapping, if you've ever had this, you know what he's going through. But if you had this, you're not jumping and dunking and running on a hard surface at top speed against the top athletes in the world and hitting the brakes and then jumping. So this is something that ain't going away. Trust me. I had patellar tendonitis for a whole season, Dibs, and there was days when you couldn't get out of bed. I literally collapsed once getting out of bed. I thought my leg was sturdy, got out of bed, hit the floor, got up, and then you get there early and you have to put heat on it because heat makes it loosen up and kind of feel better. And then you take all kinds of anti-inflammatories to make it calm down because it's angry. You got to make it calm down. And then as soon as you start running again, it gets angry. And then once it gets angry, it's angry and you're done.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put my 55-year-old weekend warrior body into the association and the rigors of playing a basketball game, but I deal with it each and every day. And there are days where my bilateral knee tendonitis is so bad that, I don't even want to walk around the house. And there's days where it's better, and let alone having to go out and guard some of the best athletes on the planet. And like you said, FP, Jonathan Kuminga's game is predicated on his ability to elevate and explode. He's not, not to make light of Klay Thompson or his injuries, but Klay Thompson and the way he plays, he would be better suited to navigate a game if he had bilateral knee tendonitis, because he doesn't have to go elevate and rebound and do the things that Jonathan Kuminga is expected to do. So different injuries for different people lead to different availabilities, certainly, but you hope that Kuminga is going to be able to, down the stretch here, find a way to play through some of the pain and discomfort, because I agree with you, FP, it's not just going to go away overnight.
Yeah, I don't think, so this isn't chronic, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit here and be an alarmist, which I kind of am, by the way, if I'm thinking about it, but I hope this isn't chronic and something that he has to deal with as I'm reading on it. I'm on WebMD. You ever go on WebMD and then all of a sudden you think you're dying? I mean,
yeah.
Right now, bilateral tendonitis, it's a big deal. I'm reading it right now, and it's it's life-threatening. You go on WebMD. I had a doctor tell me once, please, will you promise me one thing? Stay off the internet, because every time you text me or call me, you're dying because you've had a cough for longer than a month. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I had a cough. I chewed tobacco. I'm dead. I always go there, and I just, it's bad to do that. So now I tell my friends, stay off the WebMD. There's a reason why doctors go to school for a long time.
Right.
Not just to go on, click on the internet and think you're a doctor. But that's what I'm doing right now. But
and you go on there and, you start to link symptoms, then you realize, it's got to absolutely be this. I had a little stomach discomfort about a month ago.
You're dying.
Seemed to only happen when I was eating or drinking fluids, and I was starting to look, and it's like stomach cancer. Boom, there you go.
You got it.
It's the only thing it possibly could be. Forget the fact that I haven't presented any of the other symptoms. Difficulty swallowing or eating. Boom, stomach cancer. Thank you, WebMD.
You know what cures that? Milk.
Not eating. Yeah,
milk. If you drink a lot of milk, it'll cure it.
Glass of milk.
Bilateral tendonitis changes the structure of the tendon, I'm reading here. So that's a bigger deal. Just saying.
Well, the biggest deal is that it's happening to a 21-year-old. But as we learned from Dr. Nirav Pandya, cleared to play UCSF Health last week, this a lot of times can happen when you have a player increase their minutes as he had. And forget minutes per game. I like to deal with total minutes, FP. And his minute total this year is 450 minutes greater than it was last year, and the year's not even over. So his minute total has gone up by 30%. So to see a player going through something like this, it's not that out of the ordinary, especially when you look at his game log. He only missed, one or two games all year leading up to this absence. So he's been there night in and night out, playing 25 to 30 minutes every game, playing hard, more of a usage this year than ever before. So to have this sort of an ailment, it actually makes more sense than if he didn't have knee discomfort.
Yeah, bust the good drugs out for this stretch run. You got to figure it out. It's also known, Dan Dibley, as jumper's knee. It's caused by overuse of your knee joint, such as frequent jumping on hard surfaces. It's usually a sports-related injury linked to the leg muscle contraction and the force of hitting the ground. This strains your tendon. With repeated stress, your tendon may become inflamed. That was all off the top of my head. I did not read that off the internet just now.
Yes, and hence the tendonitis. The tendonitis would refer to the itis being tendon-based. They don't just make these terms up. When you've got tendonitis, it's because you have an inflamed or aggravated tendon, and that is, connected to or indicative of jumper's knee. So Jonathan Kuminga ruled out again tonight, and Steve Kerr spoke in the pregame moments ago about him hopefully being able to go tomorrow. And again, it'll most likely be a game time decision as the Warriors take on the Mavericks. And maybe that game time decision, FP, is determined based on what happens tonight. Because if the Warriors beat the Houston Rockets, then they pull 4 games clear of Houston with the tiebreaker over Houston, which would mean they're really 5 games up on Houston with 6 games left to go. All of a sudden, tomorrow's game against Dallas becomes slightly less important.
I got a question for you, Mr. Dibley. What if they stay hot and they run the table without Kuminga, and then you have the play-in game? Do you bring him back?
Absolutely. Now, do you start him is the real question, and that's something that you and I were going to get into today, and perhaps Grandy and I can kick it around tomorrow when we lead up to Warriors Live before the Dallas game. If Kuminga is cleared to go tomorrow, then the question becomes, do you start Kuminga or not? And, just taking your hypothetical, if Kuminga only plays, maybe he doesn't play at all over the final 7 games. He's not playing tonight, 6 more games to go after this. If Kuminga sits the final 6, well, now you're in a spot where he would have missed 11 games and he would have missed, more than 3 weeks of actual time. So then it becomes more difficult to just plug and play and throw him back out there. So I think if he misses tonight, we know that. If he also misses tomorrow and you don't bring him back until Sunday, the longer he's out, to me, the easier it is to say, hey, Jonathan, we want to bring you back slowly. We're going to bring you off the bench.
And if you keep winning too, like we're like in desperation mode here. They are. Why'd I say we? I'm not playing. Yeah. I don't have jumper's knee. Like they're in desperation mode right now. So whatever's working, you got to go with. This isn't tinker time. This isn't like, well, if you come back, you're in. They win tonight. They keep winning. They're going to go with the same lineup, just like any manager would in baseball. If you're winning, you stick with. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if he's odd man out right now, you're talking to the president of his fan club. Like I say, sign him. He's untouchable. He's the future. Like I love how he's improved this year. Talking about Kuminga and what he's brought to the table. I think he's a star. I think he's an all-star for many years to come. And I could be being a little dramatic right now, but that's how I feel. But at this point, Dibs, it's like whatever works. And you've been tinkering with things and rotations and who finishes, who starts all season long. If you got something that's working and you're playing for your playoff life and you're a 10 seed on the edge of the cliff, you're talking about 8. I love that you're being super positive with it. And if you beat the Rockets tonight, they're done. So then you're okay. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's not. I don't think he's going to start, right?
I don't think so. But, I mean, if he comes back tomorrow, it becomes more of a fair question on should you start him or not. And you do have to remember, though, he is a little fragile in terms of his ego and his self-confidence. It was this year where he reportedly said that he didn't feel like Steve Kerr had his back and that, he wanted to play somewhere where he felt more valued and more appreciated. And, Steve Kerr suddenly started playing him more. And then when Wiggins was out, he really thrived and he's played great over the second half of the year. And so now when he comes back off of injury, you can't just put the guy on ice. And, you don't want to take Wiggins out of the role that he currently is occupying because he's done so well. I think it's more of a delicate balance than what you're letting on. You're not just going to say, all right, Kuminga, we're playing great without you. Go sit next to Moses Moody in oblivion in Dario Saric. That's not the way this is going to go. You are still going to play him. You just got to figure out how you want to reintegrate him while keeping Andrew Wiggins aggressive and productive.
Yeah, why can't they play together, Dibs? Is it because their game is so similar and it kind of washes each other out? Why is everybody talking about they can't play together? I don't get
the numbers would indicate that that's the case, and I do think it's because of certain similarities. And Mark called it the you take it guy, and when Kuminga's on the floor, he becomes that guy. When the shot clock is down under 3, you throw it to Kuminga and let him create and do something. And I think that Kuminga is much more in need of the ball. And so when Wiggins is out there with Kuminga, and then you've got Curry, who already has a high usage, Wiggins tends to kind of get lost in the woodwork. He goes into wallflower mode. And when Kuminga's not in there, then Wiggins can become that hey, you take it guy.
He's scared of him. Just scared, like when you're on the court, I'm just going to sit over in the corner. No, I know what you're saying. Those are good points.
Yeah.
Like the clock runs down, and Kuminga's the guy that's going to drive downhill. Nobody's stopping him. Have you ever seen a Warrior improve this much in the course of a season, like Jonathan Kuminga? It seems like the last month and a half, 2 months, he's gone from like to whoa.
Yeah, it reminds me of Jordan Poole and what he did in his third year when he came back from the G League. And when he came back and he got confidence from playing in the G League and shooting so well down there, and then he came up here and he hit the ground running. And this is where many people around the association talk about the third year leap that players can make. And Jonathan Kuminga is a classic example of a guy making that leap. You go from 9.3 to 9.9 points a game. This year he's at 16.3. Minutes are up. Field goal percentage is up. The 3-point percentage is down a little bit, and he's shooting it a little bit more often, but across the board, rebounds are up. Every number, assists are up. Effective field goal percentage has still been really solid. I think that he's become kind of symptomatic or symbolic, rather, of exactly what a guy can do in his third